I'm going to do a series of videos on Bally's skill roll from 1958. Most of the videos I've seen have always been people playing them. This was going to be more about how to fix them and what's going on the inside. But here's the back door. You can swing it all the way open. Back door has all of the EM mechanics on it. Obviously there's a bell. There's also a chime. Fuse block on these are always suspect. This is an original unit. You can tell that some of these tabs are just done. A good test is if you can push on the fuse and it falls into and wedges open the connection there, that it needs to be replaced. I'm surprised I'm shooting this video without even replacing that first. Then obviously a transformer. This one doesn't have a score motor. This one's called a sequence motor. I can talk more about that in another video. And then there's two counters. This is for a high score. This is operator selectable down here. You can move that jumper to define what a high score is. That would increment that meter. The one on the left is for the games that actually completed the 80 shot on the final row. There's an anti-cheat slam switch there. And then we have the relays. This is the tilt relay, and then we have the coin relay that would start a game once you drop the coin, and then the 10, the 20, the 30, and the 50 point relay that handles all the scoring and all the bells and chimes. This is the back of the power switch. This is the ballast for the fluorescent tube that goes across the top of the play field. And then for units on this, there are only two. And they are almost identical. Very similar setup. They have different wheels or gears on them though. They're both all the way step up and then a full reset. So on both of them, this is the step up action, and then this would be a reset. And before I turn EM games on for the first time, I like to check if these reset, because you can tell this one's having some problems. It's not even quite there yet. I gotta have to give it an assist. And then this top one is the row counter. So after it resets, it would pull in once, and then this would be ready to score on the first row or the first shot of skill roll. And then after you score a point, the sequence motor starts, the score unit keeps up, and then the very last thing that happens is the row unit increments one more. So here's the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And so right now this would be activating the 80 row on a skill shot, or on a skill roll. And then on this last pull, you'll hear a different click. And then that would activate the star and increment the 8th row meter. Down here is the score unit. So again, this is just a step up and then a full reset. Each click on here is an advance of 10 points, and then a perfect score on skill roll is 460. So there's 46 steps on this stepper, and then when you get to the end, it is done. Again, I want to just check how this one resets before I do any rebuilding. That one actually resets pretty darn hard. That might be wound a little too tight on that return spring. When you work on these, it's pretty straightforward. Take pictures, take everything apart. And since these are so similar, you can easily take one apart while using the other one as a guide to put it back together. On the score unit, there's just one end of stroke switch, and there is no zero position switch. So sometimes you'll get these games, and when you drop a coin in, the scores don't reset to zero. They might be stuck on 70 or something like that. That means that this unit isn't going all the way back to zero. And again, the sequence motor and the startup process doesn't care, because it has no switch on here to tell you when it's zero. Now the row counter though does have a switch here that needs to hit zero when it's reset, and then a little peg on the gear to go back to that position. And again, this one's pretty gummed up. I would imagine this is going to give a pretty difficult startup sequence, but would eventually get there and then close that switch. And then once it knows it's reset, it goes back, and then that make or break is on the bottom too there. So I'm going to fire this up. I'll probably put a couple steps on here so we can see if the game itself can reset it all by itself and see what the startup process looks like. So I'm going to reach on and start the game up. Backside of the playfield, you can see the lights are on. But also in here, you can play a skill roll from the inside. So the top right switch here would be the coin drop. And then this should start up all the mechanics on the back door. So I'm going to flick that while recording over here. You can kind of see that this guy is slowly turning, and the sequence motor isn't going to stop until that switch gets closed on our row counter. So definitely have to take that apart, clean it up, and re-grease it so that it gets a clean reset. It shouldn't be turning that many times on a reset. It should only turn once. But then from the back side, we can go through and play it. So this was the coin drop switch. It used to be the first switch. So just hit any of these, and every time you hear a ding, that corresponds to the number of 10 that you just scored. So 30 points is 3 dings. Then as you hit the different rows, again, we can go back to our steppers. Here we're on the 3rd row now, so that'll engage the sequence motor. This will start counting, and as a last step, this will increment it to the next row. So as you go down, only 1 row is active at a time, which is also the reason why you can't shoot nickels too fast, because you can literally get your nickel that you're playing, you can get it ahead of the row counter, and then it won't know where the nickel's at because it's past the active row. Another thing you can do on here to just kind of watch your bells and your chime is you can just hit these. So that was the 50-point relay. We must be past the rows. That sounded like more than 5 dings. But then 30, 20, 10. So another thing you can do is if you're trying to purchase one of these and you can't fully test it out or something's not working on the play field, you actually can play the game from the back door. So again, if we wanted to start a new game, we would just hit the coin relay. And again, I'm going to help this guy out so that it doesn't turn forever. But then you can again just hit 10-point shots. You can hear that at least the sequence mode is running and the steppers are scoring correctly. And 20, 30, and 50. That's pretty much for the inside. Looks like this game is mostly working. I obviously haven't tested all of the switches on the back side, and we'll do a different video of the front side. It's pretty dirty, but I think it'll clean up and be a decent machine when it's done. To service this back door, what I usually do is you have to unhook the 2 Jones plugs. These are coming from the play field, and then the power cord slips through an opening down there and then out the bottom. So if you take the Jones plugs out, take the cord out, this back door is on split hinges, and it will actually just lift off. So you don't have to worry about taking any of these off. The hinge comes apart in half. You can just lift it off, and then you can put the whole back door on the workbench so you can get in and clean all of your switches and all your steppers. So hopefully we'll see you in the next video.